The individual may decide for himself not only what to do to get well, but what to do to keep well. No external power may dictate to him what he must and must not eat, drink, wear, or do.
But when you're talking about local mandates for schools, for teachers, for universities, for colleges, I'm sorry, I mean, I know people must like to have their individual freedom and not be told to do something, but I think we're in such a serious situation now that under certain circumstances, mandates should be done.
Mind your own business is its only moral law. Interference with another person's business is a crime, and the only crime, and as such may promptly be resisted.
Have that independent spirit, and we don't want to be told what to do. Well, I understand that, but now is the time to do what you're told. And I think it really is something that we should be doing right now.
Why can we not agree to let each live his own life, neither of us transgressing the limits that separate our individualities?
I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people are not going to agree with this, but don't get the vaccine, you can't go to the supermarket. Don't have the vaccine, you can't go to the ball game. Don't have the vaccine, can't go to work. You don't have the vaccine, can't come here. No shirt, no shoes, no service.
It is incredible how as soon as a people become subject, it promptly falls into such complete forgetfulness of its freedom that it is hardly be roused to point of regaining it, obeying so easily and so willingly that one is led to say, on beholding such a situation, that this people have not so much lost its liberty as won its enslavement.
And not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom. Because with freedom comes obligations and responsibilities.
Voilà. Avec une pièce d'identité, s'il vous plaît.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with our very 75th episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. So, first of all, I would just like to say that it is awesome to be back. We are back after, 3 weeks, I think? Sorry about that. I had a lot going on. As last week, I decided that it would be a good time to go on vacation. Get away from politics and just relax. However, I couldn't relax too much as there was something on my mind the entire time I was there. And this was the idea of the balance between government control and personal freedom. In my downtime, I was reading many books and articles about this topic. Some of the quotes at the very beginning of this video came from those books, and I will try to remember to put them in the description down below because I think they are very good reads. Anyway, on my vacation, I saw a lot of different break walls in Michigan because Michigan has a lot of water around it. And so with these break walls, you can walk actually on concrete over to a lighthouse or a different lookout spot to see the water better. And one of these break walls in Frankfort, Michigan had a sign on it that said, "Danger, waves flood surface, keep off during storms." And I wondered to myself, how many people actually followed this sign and stayed off during storms? Well, if we look at statistics, not very much, as there have been hundreds of thousands of people for the past decade that have passed away from walking on these different break walls and falling off into the water. Or, of course, a storm comes by and knocks them off while they're just peacefully walking. Some people, on the other hand, listen to the directions and stay off during storms, and they are just fine. However, every single time I looked at a break wall, there were people, including me, that were walking on them. Not because we are daredevils, but because we assessed if we were safe and realized that we were safe. And we also have a constitutional right to be on these different break walls and walk where we want to walk. All because something is dangerous or that there could be a possibility of death does not mean that we have to shut everything down. It's not like with the whole break wall situation that one person was swept away and the government had to come in and say, hey, no, you can't go on this break wall anymore. That would be ridiculous. And according to Bankrate, a total of 28 people a day die. And that is a person every 52 minutes and about 10,000 people a year from alcohol-related vehicular accidents. Even though people are dying, we are not seeing the government step in and say that we must ban highways, make sure that the cars can only go 25 miles an hour, and we must ban alcohol. We must slow the spread. This hasn't happened because people have a right to determine what the risks are and make their own decisions. You have a right to drink alcohol, but know that you could put people's life at risk if you drink too much and then get behind the wheel. You are free to go on a boardwalk or a break wall, but know that there is a chance that you could fall off. You have a right to get the vaccine or not to get the vaccine because both of these options are your right. Just remember that there are risks when it comes to both of them. When it comes to the COVID-19 and the vaccines, this has been my opinion, and it has not changed one bit. I believe that people have the right to make their own decisions, and those decisions should not be forced upon people by the government, stores, businesses, colleges, or even jobs. You have a right to say no or yes as an individual person. However, we are seeing this simple concept being ignored by the government. And all of this is because of the new Delta variant that is sweeping across the United States, as we are starting to see cases rise, but not to the levels that they were when the first wave of COVID-19 happened. As there is an article by Reuters that calculates all of these new infections, which is really cool. But it also means that the cases will change even after this episode, so I will try and remember to put that link into the description down below. Anyway, with this website, we notice a significant spike in cases. And as of the recording of this episode, we have a 7-day average of 108,199 new cases of COVID-19. And on August 5th, we saw a total of 102,335 new cases of COVID-19, which, yes, is a lot of new cases. But this is a lot lower than what it was at the very rough part of the pandemic. As according to this graph, at the peak of COVID-19, there were 201,608 cases. And during this time period of January, we saw that the number of deaths were also rising with the number of cases. As in January 2021, there was a total of around 4,000 deaths, which is absolutely terrible. And you would think that with the cases going up right now, that the deaths would also be going up right now, right? Well, not exactly, as we are seeing a little spike, but nothing like how it was in the past, as the 7-day average is at 464 deaths. It is sad that people are suffering and passing away from COVID-19 still. However, we should be thankful and breathe a sigh of relief that these deaths are not going absolutely crazy right now. But the government is not thankful because what they want is zero COVID, which will never happen. So even though the deaths are low, people in the government are still freaking out about the new Delta variant. Why are they freaking out? Well, it looks like people that have received the COVID-19 vaccine are still getting the Delta variant of COVID. These are called breakthrough cases. Now, it is important to remember that these cases are milder, which is a very good thing. Remember, I am not anti-vaccine at all. And if you want to get it, that's 100% great. I already talked about that at the beginning. These new breakthrough cases are causing the government to go back to the drawing board. And we are now back to wearing masks in areas where COVID-19 is spiking. This is for people both unvaccinated and vaccinated. And the reason for going back to masks came from one study in Boston. As in July, there were many public events, and a total of 469 COVID-19 cases were identified among Massachusetts residents. Of these residents, 346, or 74%, occurred in fully vaccinated people. The study concluded that vaccinated individuals carried as much virus in their nose as unvaccinated individuals. And it strongly suggested that vaccinated people could spread the virus to other vaccinated people and also unvaccinated. Does this mean that the vaccines failed? No, not exactly. However, it does mean that the vaccines are not helpful as much when it comes to stopping the spread of COVID they're more helpful in the fighting off the virus when it gets inside you, which is something that I think people were not expecting when they got the vaccine. Now, there's something interesting when it comes to these two examples that I gave. In the Boston study, no one died. And with the graphs that I showed with the whole Reuters thing, we talked already about how the death numbers were lower. So why is it that cases are spiking and deaths aren't spiking at the same time? Well, it could be because of the vaccine. It could be because the Delta variant is actually weaker than we thought. Or we have found better ways to attack COVID-19. And this has been happening throughout the whole pandemic. We have learned different things. Not putting people on a ventilator right away was a lot better. There are different drugs that are out there that could try and lower the symptoms of COVID-19, which is a good thing. We are finding ways to adapt. We are finding ways to get rid of the virus so then we can actually live our lives. But the big point right now is that everyone is struggling with COVID-19 and the cases are increasing. Israel was known for their effective vaccine strategy. A lot of the older generation got the vaccine, as they had different mandates that made sure that the older generation and the vulnerable got the vaccine. But now they are struggling, as 64.5% are vaccinated and the cases are spiking, as we can see from this chart. Back to the United States. Democratic states have been having issues, as California is seeing a rise in cases. Louisiana, which has a Democratic governor, is also having a very big issue. Along with this, Republican states are also having issues, as Florida is seeing a major increase in cases, and Mississippi is struggling with a surge in cases. And if you look at a whole map of the United States with COVID-19, it would probably look like every single state is struggling with COVID-19. The point is that no matter what kind of government your state is, and no matter how many people are vaccinated, everyone is struggling with COVID. But the silver lining is that the cases are high and the deaths are low. So really, who cares? As thousands of people get the cold and flu every single year, but we don't care because people aren't dying. Well, the United States cares. A little bit too much, as there is a new push to force people to get the COVID-19 vaccine, as the government right now is looking into creating a vaccine mandate. This has already happened in the White House, as Joe Biden announced a few weeks ago that federal workers and contractors would be required to attest that they are vaccinated or submit to regular testing. This announcement sent a clear message to other businesses and states that they should require COVID-19 vaccines as well. And while some in the White House, like Jen Psaki, have said that this doesn't mean that the government will create federal vaccine mandates, the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, had something different to say, as she stated in an interview with Bret Baier that the federal government mandates are something that I think the administration is looking into. It's something that I think we are looking to see approval of from the vaccine. She later went on to say that any vaccine mandates currently in place are strictly on the local or corporate level. And the corporate level is coming from big businesses like Cisco, DoorDash, Facebook, Frontier Airlines, Google, Hollywood workers, Tyson Foods, United Airlines, Walgreens, Walt Disney Company, Walmart, and the Washington Post, along with other companies that will more than likely require mandates after the FDA approves of the COVID-19 vaccine. That's right, it's still not approved. But now this is just for people that are working at these different corporations. What about us, the average American people, that maybe your job doesn't require it and you're still not vaccinated? What about you? Well, to look at this, we must go to New York City, which is, as of right now, the biggest city that is going to try and create a vaccine mandate for their citizens, as they want average citizens to require proof of vaccination before entering a restaurant, a gym, or one day it may even include a grocery store. As according to Bill de Blasio, this new law will require vaccination for workers and customers in indoor dining, indoor fitness facilities, indoor entertainment facilities. He continued by saying New Yorkers will need to show their Key to New York pass, or they must show their vaccine cards. This law will officially be put in place on September 13th. There's a huge problem, however, with this new bill, and it's not that it's just a terrible draconian measure, but it is also promoting racism as well, as it turns out that this law will hurt the African American community that are living in New York City, as according to the New York City Department of Health, only 35% of African American residents have been vaccinated, meaning that if this law passes, 65% of African Americans will be banned from dining in New York City. This is, of course, not what the mayor wants. And if this was implemented on a national level, then still African Americans and other minorities would be unable to go into a restaurant, into a gym, or maybe even a grocery store, which will cause suffering, inequality, and totalitarian policy of control from the government. I mean, it is incredible to me that the people that were calling voter ID laws racist and the new Jim Crow are openly supporting people carrying around a little white card to go to the grocery store to get food. The hypocrisy here is incredible, and it is being supported by the media. Here's Don Lemon of CNN promoting this idea of vaccine passports.
Don't get the vaccine, you can't go to the supermarket. Don't have the vaccine, you don't show it, can't go to the ball game. Don't have the vaccine, can't go to work. You don't have the vaccine, can't come here. No shirt, no shoes, no service.
I know I already played that in the beginning, but that video is just so huge. And it is our freedom to choose if we want to get the vaccine or not. We have a right to choose what we want to have or not have in our bodies. All of this should be up to personal choice. It's that simple. Along with this idea of forcing people to show their papers before they can do X, Y, or Z is something straight out of the book of Evil Mustache Man, Stalin, or Mao. I'm not comparing COVID to what these men did, but authoritarianism is still, well, authoritarianism. If we decide to do this on a federal level and mandate everyone to get the COVID-19 vaccine and carry around these little white cards, then we are not living in a free society. We are living in a dictatorship and an authoritarian regime. Now, there's this meme that's going around, and usually I just laugh at memes, but to this meme, it's actually true. And it says, "It is shocking how quickly the left went from I'll punch a Nazi to show me your papers and follow whatever the government says." The government just wants control of you. And once they get control over you, more than likely you won't change, because why would you want to change against what the government says? And the government then won't change either. They will always want to be in control of you. A great way to promote this government control is for the government to start focusing on younger generations and forcing them to do what the government wants. This is why we are seeing colleges around the country forcing their students to get the COVID-19 vaccine. And if they decide not to, then they won't be able to go back to school at all. As according to Best Colleges, 400 U.S. colleges say that on-campus students must get the COVID-19 vaccine before the fall. I was even shocked to find out that my alma mater, the University of Michigan Flint, is requiring the COVID-19 vaccine. There are very few restrictions, including religious or health reasons, but other than that, you have to have the vaccine. The message read, "Ultimately, non-compliant students, faculty, and staff will be subject to appropriate campus disciplinary procedures." It didn't detail what the discipline may be. However, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that if you don't get the COVID-19 vaccine, then you will either be fired or you'll be kicked out of the university. In fact, there are many people that I know that were going to lose different scholarships and an opportunity at an internship if they didn't get the vaccine. Does this sound fair to anyone? You work your butt off for 4 years of high school to get a scholarship, and then all because you don't get a little shot, all of it is wasted. That sounds ridiculous. Another person that I have known for a very, very long time wrote a huge Facebook post. And in that post, she talked about how she only had 1 more year left to go on her doctorate. And you would think that she would just get the shot. However, her conviction is so strong on how the vaccine was tested on using fetal cell tissues that she's willing to give that all up, leaving her with a lot of student debt and no degree. To her, this doesn't matter. She is standing up for what she believes in. There are many college students from the university that I know that are standing up to this order as well. Someone even made a group and also a petition. And when this petition was sent to me, I put it out on the Dockery Docket Facebook page, which you should all be following. link down below. In that post I wrote, the Dockery Docket is strongly against totalitarians demanding us to do something that we don't want to do. The University of Michigan Flint needs a wake-up call from us, the people. Sign this petition and help out. So I ask you to please sign this petition, and I will try to remember to put it down in the description as well. So far, they have a total of 4,738 signatures, which is at the time of this recording, and it is growing. And you can help. It's not the University of Michigan Flint that is having this issue. As I said, other colleges are having this same struggle, but students are standing up to the university and also the government. Recently, a professor is suing George Mason University, arguing that he already had COVID, so he shouldn't have to get the vaccine because getting over the virus can also give you antibodies that you can use to fight off the virus. He also had many antibody tests, and it showed that he still had the antibodies. This lawsuit is still in the process of being completed, and we will see if it actually works or not. There was also another lawsuit that actually worked, as 2 students from the Missouri School of Dentistry and Oral Health didn't have to receive the vaccine after they just threatened to sue the school. If they won their case, I believe that more college students could win and not be forced to do something that they don't want to do. Along with this, students aren't just going up to different colleges and demanding change. Students are also willing to go to the Supreme Court of the United States to change it. As recently, the court was asked to block a plan by Indiana University to require students and employees to get the vaccine. This is the first time that the High Court has been asked to weigh in on these vaccine mandates. And this could be huge for all of the students that are fighting against the government or the schools, forcing them to get the vaccine. As if the Supreme Court says no, that this is constitutional, then this would mean that all colleges would have to drop their mandates. And it could put in jeopardy the vaccine mandates for businesses, states, and finally, the federal government. In the end, why is it that I believe that we all should stand up to these different mandates? It's not because I hate the vaccine, and it's not because I want people to die from COVID. That is the opposite of what I want to see happen. The reason why we must stand up to these people is because they are lying to us. They flipped and they flopped on so many things that we can't believe them anymore. We are being tricked when Barack Obama is allowed to have a major birthday party with hundreds of guests, maskless, while the mainstream media says, oh, well, they are sophisticated and vaccinated. These are the same people that are demanding you to wear a mask all the time. These are the people that don't want you to have a party, but they can. These are the people that want your kids to mask up, even though scientifically kids are not getting COVID. And if they are, the chances of them dying are extremely low. These are the people that will tell you that you can't see your dying relatives, even though you and that dying relative have received the COVID-19 vaccine. We are being played and controlled, and all of this is right in front of us. This is why we have to stand up and say no to them trying to control us. Because to be honest, I will not be locked down again. They will try, but in the end, they will fail. Because our Constitution is stronger than them. We the people are stronger than them. And hopefully soon, we won't ever have to worry about this ever again. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.